Welcome in, Cardinal signs. It is like 35 degrees here, and um, I am not feeling the best. So a little bit of a breeze. Let's see how we go. I have pre-sorted all of like of pre-drawn stacks here, and I'm going to work through the energies for each sign, and then I'm going to go back tomorrow and I'll do a general collective reading for everybody. So we're going to start off with I started watching a new reader who I'm really quite enjoying, and one of the things that he says is this message rides in on the frequency of love and light for the highest good. And I think that that's been something that I've been practicing the last couple of weeks. And yeah, I really quite like it. And so when this posts, I'm going to put a link to his readings. I think our collectives are very similar. We're from sort of a very similar social group. And yeah, I think really quite interesting. So I've been enjoying his content, and it'd be good to promote it. And also, yeah, I adopted that. Why did I adopt it? Because I really liked the intention setting behind it. All right, let's dive into the reading. I know you can't see a whole lot here. Let me just see if I push this back. And maybe bring some of the cards forward. Okay. This is going to have to be the way that we go. I had a shower about, 20 minutes ago, and then I was already dripping sweat by the time I pulled the cards. So all I was doing is shuffling and pulling cards and dripping sweat. So let's just see how we go. All right. So our first sign is Aries. So welcome in, Aries. This is the Getting into the Vortex card that we've pulled for you. And it says, I will not try to control the uncontrollable. I will not try to control the uncontrollable. And I think that is a pretty self-explanatory card. There are only certain things that are within our ability to control. And so this Taurus full moon is asking you to review and reflect on what is not controllable for you and to give up trying to control those things. The next set of cards that I have pulled are I actually don't know what this is Anna K Tarot. And we have got the Moon reversed and the Ten of Cups. So the Moon is about what is hidden, and it can be about our subconscious. So with this card about trying not to control the uncontrollable, I do feel here that for our Aries that they have potentially been exerting some form of subconscious control with regards to how they go about achieving this Ten of Pentacles. So, or sorry, this is the Ten of Cups. I might have said Ten of Pentacles. Ten of Cups. Ten of Cups. So the Moon card it can be a bit scary, right? It is very much a Scorpio based card. It is about what is hidden, the subconscious, and deep transformations. However, the Moon does call us on a journey out of water. So out of the unconscious emotional states up through the path, towards the hill in the background that has, you know, the pillars in the city. And so what would be required here? All right. We're going to get some cards in to clarify. Oh, I also wanted to say that we had a jumper when I was pulling for old, like before I started pulling for old collectives. And that was the Knight of Wands in reverse. So this is going to be an energy that affects all 12 signs. And the Knight of Wands is about pushing forward, moving very quickly, wanting things to transform very quickly. In the positive, it's forward movement into a state of transformation. But in the negative, it is essentially using that fire element to burn your way forward. And so what we might be being called to do here is to look at how we use our how we use our mind, how our subconscious mind dictates our ability or the way that we move towards positive emotional states. So what I do feel this is saying is that there's hidden and potentially more dark sort of forces that are pulling us towards this desired outcome of the Ten of Cups. And so the challenge for Aries is to look at the way that those subconscious feelings are impact the way that they progress forward. What else can we say for Aries about how we can turn this moon from the reverse into the upright? What would it take here for Aries to turn the moon into the upright? Okay, we have got, all right, we've got Justice in reverse, the Two of Pentacles in reverse, and the Four of Swords in reverse. Okay, so this paints a very, very clear picture to me about what needs to occur here for our Aries to move from a state of darkness into a state of light regarding the way that you clear your emotional energy and bring that energy up to the Ten of Cups. Justice in reverse is telling me that, and I'm going to flip the card up right now because we're going to talk our way through these reverse cards. So what it's saying is that essentially, like, you're not apologizing, you're not giving people when you're in the wrong, you're not admitting it. Obviously, the Two of Pentacles is a card of choice, this or that. And so with Justice in reverse, the Two of Pentacles in reverse, and the Four of Swords in reverse, that's how I sort of came up with that message. It's literally about not giving other people the justice that they deserve. And almost in a way, sort of with this card in reverse, desiring the lamb to land on the swords, like allowing the lamb to be slaughtered, instead of taking personal responsibility and accountability for the dark ways that you transmute your own energy. All right, I'm just kind of get into a slightly more comfortable position. This is like, this is a horrible outfit. I shouldn't even be reading this. Why? Like, I'm just jumped on. I haven't dollied myself up at all. And I just got back from I was going for a music festival. So I'm tired. I did a 6-day music festival, and then I came back and I got sick straight away. So I got a head cold and then a stomach bug, and I'm very dehydrated right now. Hot and dehydrated. All right. So let's look at some shadow cards here. Positive affirmations to move through the shadow. You have, I can do less and attract more. And you have, my super attractor power comes from how I feel, my faith in love, and the joy I put out. Okay, let's take a look at what the tarot cards are saying here. So Taurus is an energy. Taurus is a sign of, it's an earth sign. So it is about grounding things in. And it's about, Taurus is a very sensual sign. They love their food. They love physical touch. They often like working with their hands. Tinkering around, mechanics, music, very physical expressions of self come out. So with regards to those physical expressions for our Aries, Taurus is in your second house. So this is your house of finances and how we attract the resources that we desire. We have got the Chariot, can you see these cards? The Chariot, the Ace of Swords, and Justice. Okay, so we have had Justice here come out twice, which is interesting. And this really just confirms the message that I've already said to you here with Justice, the Two of Pentacles, and the Lamb. This was the challenge here for our Aries to work through. And then we've come up here all in the positive, the Chariot, the Ace of Swords, and Justice. So what you're being called to do here is to set yourself apart by speaking truth and allowing that justice to come in. Next, I've pulled 3 sort of words and cards that will support you in your journey. The first one is make yourself proud. So, it can be very difficult, especially for fire signs. I am a Leo, so I do have that fire element. To admit their wrongs and to authenticate other people's experience of their side of the story. So to validate their side of the story, because we feel like sometimes we can feel like validating our side of the story validating the other person's side of the story is an invalidation of our own feelings. And that is not true. In order to have conscious communication, we have to be able to sound the other person's point of view back to them. so that they know that we understand it, and so that we're creating a safe space to allow dialect and communication to continue. So make yourself proud. Decide what it is that you need to speak on, what truths that you need to speak on. We've got live simply here. And that really comes back to this idea of trying to control. I've decided that I'm going to take life as it comes, and I'm going to do the best that I can do in the midst of what I'm doing. So we're being asked to make things less complicated. Oftentimes, when we are trying to manipulate a situation or have a situation go our way, we can very much complicate that situation because we're moving pieces here and there and everywhere so that things sort of flow in the way that we're trying to manipulate them. And at the end of the day, you know, the universe or God has the highest power in the outcome. And so learning to scale back can allow us to manifest the best outcome for not only ourselves, but everybody at hand. And it can it just takes it pulls your energy back to yourself, because what we should be doing is working on and moving from a place of internal motivation, um, moving towards what excites us, not moving out of fear or a need to control. So watching our motivations for how we're using our energy, um, and the last card we have is we fail, we grow. And so, this is really a card of sort of surrendering to the process of life, and um, understanding that we're all here on a mission, and we are in Earth School. And so, yeah, uh, part of that is that we aren't always number one. Aries likes to be the winner, and we're not always going to be number one. We're not always going to come out on top in every single situation. But if we can learn the lessons, then we have come out on top. Because first of all, if we acknowledge that we're not always going to be on top, every little challenge that we set for ourselves or every goal that we have, then we acknowledge that failure is a part of life. And if we acknowledge that failure is a part of life, then there's a purpose to failure. And so focusing more on the purpose of the lesson is a way for us to reframe that idea of winning. And that's really going to help here turn this moon upright so that we're using our emotions in the most positive way that we can to move towards what it is that we're trying to attract. And again, we've got my super attractor power comes from how I feel, my faith in love, and the joy I put out. So we want to be working towards moving from a place of joy and excitement rather than fear. Okay, I think I've sort of talked myself in circles there for Aries. There will be a general collective reading for the full moon. So stay tuned for that. I hope you've enjoyed your reading for this sign. And we will see you again around November 19th for the new moon. Thanks, Aries. The next sign that we have is Cancer. So welcome in Cancer, my Cancer, fellow Cancers. Sorry, I'm just realizing that I have binned some cards, but I don't want to bin our, here we go. I don't want to bin the deck that I'm using to clarify. We want to use the whole deck. All right. This is my clarification deck. All right, here we go. So let's start off with, we've got these, and these. All right. So the very first message, Cancer, that we have is, every relationship I establish is eternal, which is a very interesting way to look at things. The way that this manifests is essentially we are a summation of all of our experiences, and how those experiences play out becomes part of who we are. So I might have a bit more on that message for you in a moment, but let's move in and take a look. So I was saying that the card that fell out while I was doing the pre-shuffle for the whole reading, so this applies to all signs, is the Knight of Wands in reverse. So the Knight of Wands is a card of fiery action. It's moving towards transformation. It's ready to change, really, ready to initiate change. So with that, the Knight of Wands being in reverse here, part of the blockage could have to do with not moving forward, or it could be the opposite, and we're actually being asked to slow down right now and to potentially not change something. So let's take a look at what we've got. Okay, we've got Death and the 10 of Pentacles in reverse. So Death is a card of endings and transformations, and the 10 of Pentacles is the happy family card. You can see here that there's a family celebration going on. So look, this could play out either way for our Cancers here. You know, I'm really sort of picking up this 50-50 energy where for some of you, you're in a negative family situation, a very unhappy family situation, and you are looking to end that. And so this Knight of Wands turns up as a blockage because you're stuck right now on how to actually move forward in that situation and potentially put that behind you. With this card here saying that all relationships are eternal, it speaks of needing to come up with a method or modality on how to positively put an end to a situation where maybe those bonds that you share, you know, it could be your brother, your sister, your parents. It could be, you know, your own household that you've established. Maybe you're separating from a partner and you've got children, and those connections are going to be eternal. So how do we move forward in our lives and move out of this situation? So the challenge here could be not wanting to transform. So that could be a bit of a clinging energy. Or the opposite is that, you know, we are it is the end. Death is the end. If this has come out upright, something needs to end here. And it could be that we need to end the negative family situation, or it could be that we need to end the thing that is causing the negative family situation. And so the block there can play out either way. Let's move on and get a few more cards to see how we can pad out the rest of the reading. We've got, I am kind and loving towards others while creating clear boundaries that protect my good feeling emotions. So that's a very, very clear card. One of the things that we have to learn to do is to establish boundaries. Look, the interesting part about relating to others is that not everybody has the same boundaries. And then there's not always going to be like just how these cards are overlapping. Like sometimes things are going to be overlapping, sometimes they're going to be gaps. And so how do we work with somebody where our boundaries and their needs and their boundaries don't align? And that can be a real challenge here. So what it is that you're being asked to focus on is what is required for your good feeling emotions. So here's an example, from my life. And I think that sharing some of these is relevant and valid to help you understand the nature of the reading. So I once had a partner that liked to ogle at the opposite sex. And they were a very faithful person, as far as I know. But they did have, they were Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is a card of very much enjoying new stimulation and exploring new things. And so the challenge for me was that, like, I don't have a problem of you looking at other people, but when that is more interesting than looking and connecting in that sexual manner with your own partner, that doesn't really establish and protect those good feelings for me. And there was a dichotomy there that just couldn't be addressed, right? We couldn't reconcile that situation. So in order to protect my good feelings, which was wanting a partner that is going to validate, the sexuality between us, I ended the relationship and moved it back to a friendship. And that protected my good feelings. It's like, okay, you can do that, but you're not going to do that with me. And it wasn't a control mechanism. It was me being clear about my boundaries and what I want and how I want a partner to show up. And it respected them as well, because it respected their need for that stimulation and excitement from being able to project their sexual energy out and potentially self-validate from that, or whatever the case may be there. But that was a natural way for us to reconcile that situation, because they weren't going to bend and I wasn't going to bend. And that's what I mean sometimes, like when there's a gap, there's no overlap, there was nowhere for us to relate along that one particular subject. And we shared overlap on so many other things. So it's not like the whole relationship was destroyed. It was just that we had to transform that relationship so that we could both still maintain those good feeling emotions within ourselves. All right, I'm going to move on here to some of the cards. So we've got You Are Gorgeous, which is a nice card of validating your own inner beauty, your own spiritual light. You are in charge. So taking charge of your emotions and what those boundaries are for you. And the third one is have fun. So let's take a look at what this have fun might relate to. We've got the Seven of Pentacles here, which is a card about taking a look at what's grown and what's developed, and maybe analyzing, like, it's a card that, Chris Beck from Minnow Pond Tarot says, is the juice worth the squeeze? And that's a really good way to put it. I look at it as, have the seeds that I planted borne the fruit that I'm happy with? And yeah, so let's see what other cards we've got. We've got the Four of Pentacles here and the Star. So it looks like what's required to move through this challenge of the Knight of Wands in reverse is to have a look at what has grown and developed and decide whether or not it's worth holding on to healing, like holding on to the dream. With the Star card, we get healing, dreams, things that could potentially manifest in the future. The last card that we have here for you is the universe has big plans for me and it's time to claim them. So I am feeling called to pull a few cards for you on this message in particular as clarifiers. So we know that Cancer is a sign that, family is very much important to Cancer. And Cancer is the sign of family and of house and home. So what are these big plans for Cancer that Cancer can look at trying to manifest? I think that's all we're going to take. That's quite a few cards. Going to speak this like a bit of a story and see where we go here. So the first card that we have is the Three of Pentacles in reverse, which is essentially means that, so we're talking about the universe has big plans for me. The Three of Pentacles in reverse is a card that essentially symbolizes the fact that a collaboration is not working out the way that we want. A collaboration not really bearing fruit. We've got the Father of Wands in reverse and the Six of Cups in reverse. So that means that there's been a lack of focus and a lack of understanding that essentially where we water our tree is where it grows. And so, I mean, this could very much be the situation that you're in right now. But we're looking at what the universe has in store for you. We've got the Daughter of Wands. So initiating something new, the Father of Cups, and the Daughter of Cups. So I've turned these cards right side up, and I think you saw me do that. And the reason that I've done that is because I want to put, like, I haven't I should have shown this card for Aries as well. It just happens to be like a deck that's sitting here, and this has been at the top. But this is the second time that these are my homemade cards. It says, I'll honor my highest truth. And what awaits our Cancers is the Daughter of Wands is the initiating energy. The Father of Cups is very emotionally stable and balanced. And the Daughter of Cups is that, beautiful, sort of flirtatious, loving energy. So, what awaits you is understanding that there is something out there for you. It may be this situation that you're currently in, but right now, if you're not having fun, then you're not gonna get these sort of loving emotions between you and a partner, or between you and your family. And you're being asked here to honor your highest truth, to dig deeper and overcome this blockage. This isn't about your partner, this isn't about your family, this is about you. Not about what they're doing wrong, because I do see here that there is something wrong, and it could be you, or it could be your partner. I tend to feel like it might be your partner not watering, the partnership not working because they're not watering where they want things to grow. Maybe they're sprinkling their seed a bit far and wide. But knowing that if you stay in your authentic truth and you do decide to leave this partnership, that there is something here for you. Like, you're going to be able to call in what it is that you want. And in order for you to claim what the universe has for you, you have to be able to initiate change. And that can obviously be difficult if you're not in a very good situation. I am feeling called to pull. I didn't bring any other decks out except this archetype deck, which I was going to use for the general reading, but I am feeling called to give one more message for our Cancers, because I am feeling on the heart space that there is something really heavy here that you're working through. And so, I've got a lot of sympathy for that. My brother is a Cancer, and I know how much he shells away and protects himself and doesn't articulate his internal state to people. He's very personal about his internal world. And so I do get the feeling that you're really struggling and suffering here right now. Okay, now, what message can we give our Cancers about these big dreams moving forward? Okay, we've got the threshold. So it does look like you are standing on the threshold of this fire, of this transformation. And that's really, again, explains to me what is needed here. Like, there has been a blockage about creating the change for you, in the way that you are honoring and creating clear boundaries that protect your good feeling emotions. So you're on the threshold of this precipice and this change. And so the full moon is just about consciously acknowledging what it is that you need to move and transform in order to be able to have more fun. This is a big long sentence, so I'll read it out. It says, "It is our desire that you come to remember that every relationship is eternal, and that once it has been established, it's part of your vibrational makeup forevermore. And that in your powerful now, where all that you have become converges with all that you are now becoming, you hold the power to create." All right, Cancer, thanks so much for being here with me. Please check out the All Signs reading, and we will see you again for the new moon around November 19th. Okay, moving on, we have Libra. Okay, pulling out the cards for Libra. Thanks so much, everybody, for being here with me, even though I'm slightly disorganized. I was planning on going to a studio where I have organized to do these readings, and then I ended up with gastro this morning. So I'm just a little bit dehydrated, a little bit hot. Okay, so for Libra, I must focus on wanted to manifest wanted. I must focus on wanted to manifest wanted. Okay, so Libra, this is a full moon reading in Taurus. And the card that was shared here that resonates for the whole collective is the Knight of Wands in reverse. So the Knight of Wands is a card of initiating and undertaking a transformational experience. So what you're being called to look at and reflect upon is whether you are focusing on what is wanted or potentially what is unwanted, and therefore transforming in that negative way. So let's take a look at what the other cards are here and see if I can get a better picture. Okay, so for Libra, this looks like we've got the Queen of Pentacles in reverse and the Ace of Wands. So what this says to me is that there is some level of stability, and it could be financial with the Queen of Wands. Queen of Wands is a card of somebody who is very grounded and essentially has their environment very much in control. So their environment is giving them the stability that they need in order to manifest their desires. So what I'm feeling here for our Libras is that this full moon is asking you to make those changes in your environment, to initiate the changes that you need to make. And in doing that, you have to honor your highest truth. So you need to dig into the heart of this situation to find out what it is that it could be a lack of financial resources manifesting a perpetual lack of financial resources. It could be that our wardrobe is simply not appropriate for our age anymore, or for the position that we have at work. So maybe we need to manifest or change our wardrobe so that we don't have, what is it called? When you sort of like fake yourself out of your own success. Imposter syndrome. So that maybe the lack of a new wardrobe around work is giving you imposter syndrome in a new role that you've taken on. This is what's coming through for me. Maybe it's time for a vehicle upgrade. But it's very much, with this full moon being in Taurus, being in that very physical grounding sign, and the Queen of Pentacles turning up in reverse, this could also be, for our Libras that are on a diet and aren't eating healthy, or they haven't found a diet that works for them to allow them to move into the physique and body. What do I want to say here? Lump of flesh. You aren't sculpting the lump of flesh that we're living in the way you want to. And that's impacting how you feel about yourself. Let's take a look at some of these inspiration cards here. Okay, we've got laughter every day. I'm going to move that one to the side. And we'll take a look at one of our manifestation cards. It says, when I live and act from a place of spiritual alignment, I can trust that everything is working out for me, even if I don't know when or how it will happen. So Libras are very much being called here to, I must focus on wanted. So there's something here about, with this Knight of Wands in reverse, about maintaining our focus on that alignment. And it can be very difficult because the universe it isn't instantaneous, right? We're in a 3D reality. So we make a change on a spiritual level or on an intellectual level, and the manifestation of that doesn't always follow through immediately. And so it can sometimes be a little bit hard when we're not seeing the results of that change to maintain that change. So our Libras are being asked on this full moon to acknowledge what it is that they need to continue to put their focus and attention onto. If every time you see something unwanted, you realize that in the same moment, your awareness of something wanted is keener, and you quickly turn your attention in the direction of the newly emphasized wanted, everything in your experience will continue to improve. Okay, so the tarot that we've pulled is the Hanged Man, the Nine of Swords, and the Seven of Swords. The Hanged Man is a card of suspension, and often a card of waiting. It's about putting ourselves into that state of waiting so that, well, there is no so that comes with the Hanged Man. The card is really about a self-surrender, and what you're waiting for is the enlightenment. And there is some anxiety around this situation. Like, to me, it's saying that you're having difficulty continuing to put yourself into that state of surrender. And instead, what is happening is the Seven of Swords, which can be a card of lying, cheating, and stealing. But what I'm really getting for this is, like, you're trying to do a spiritual bypass, like you're trying to find another way to get to the goal rather than having to go through this state of surrender. And that is essentially the blockage here for our Libras. The other cards that we have are keep going. And I think that that's really the message here with continuing to focus on what is wanted. Don't limit yourself. So that again refers back to that the message that I previously said about when we don't see an immediate change in our environment with this Queen of Wands in reverse or Queen of Pentacles in reverse, we often then give up on the focus that we had. And so you're asked to not limit yourself by what is manifest right now for you, and to keep going. The last card that we have is manifesting is the creative process of aligning with the energy of the universe to co-create an experience that elevates my spirit and the spirit of the world. And I think that this laughter every day is connected here. And, you know, I've really gotten myself into a bit of a flow state here, and I could use cards, but I'm downloading a lot of the messages without actually having to pull cards. So what our Libras are being asked to do is almost to make fun of themselves, right? So to make light of this situation. So say you are on a diet and you've stuck to your diet the last month, but you've still gained, you know, a kilo or something. Like, laugh it off as water weight. Laugh it, like, make a joke about it. And know that the effort that you're putting into the progress is the creative power that you have for your manifestations. And nothing, very few people manifest immediately. I mean, I have seen it. I know of some people who are very good at manifesting straight away. So I'll tell a quick story. A friend of mine was they were moving, and they were needing to get rid of a washer or a dryer. And they were telling me about this in the car as we were pulling up to the house. And as soon as it came out of his mouth, oh, like, we're moving in 3 weeks. I need to remember to call somebody to, or I need to put it online for somebody to come pick up this washer or dryer that was broken. There was a white goods removalist from a charity at the next door neighbor's house. So he just walked over and was like, oh, can you also take out this washer that I've got in the broken washer that I've got in the back? And they removed it right there. But the reason that he's able to get into that flow state is because he very much has an attitude like nothing is a big deal. And I struggle with that attitude because I'm a very goal-oriented person and process-oriented and planning-oriented. And he's also a Leo. But yeah, his process is just so different to mine. Like, it's just chaotic and let the universe handle things, and very little attachment to outcomes. And I think that is the key for our Libras here, is getting in that state of sort of knowing what you want, moving towards it, but having that element of detachment. So I'm going to pull a card here for you on how you can go about moving in that space of detachment, because it's so difficult for me. We've got the flame, and the flame is all about transformation. So the download that I got was it can be helpful for our Libras because Libra is an air sign and can be an intellectual sign. Realize that we're always working in that space between quantum and manifest. Quantum and manifest. Nothing in this world is 100% manifest, and nothing in this world is 100% quantum. We can simulate those in science, but understanding that flame of transformation always exists can help you bring back your focus to what is wanted, because it gives you that intellectual understanding of the transformation, how transformation takes place. And we know that the Planck scale is so bloody small, right? The Planck scale is the smallest fragments of reality that we have. And that is essentially where transformation takes place. And so when we know that it's occurring billions of times a second, and I should know this because I'm a physicist, but I don't actually know how many Planck's. Yeah, I don't know how many Planck scales, how space time chops up in a second. I guess I would need a distance measurement for that as well. But knowing that those space-time quantum closures are occurring so frequently that the most minute changes have that sort of butterfly effect, it will keep you in that state of being able to focus on what it is that is wanted. All right, Libra, that's my message for you for the Taurus full moon. Please do me a favor and check out the all signs reading as well, which will be posted tomorrow. The all signs reading is for this New Age collective, and I'll be using different cards, and it'll be more of a message based on the house of Taurus. So I'm looking forward to seeing you there. All right, our next and last cardinal sign is Capricorn. All right, Capricorn. The message that we have for you is on this card here. It says, our varied behavior adds to the planet's well-being. Interesting. Our varied behavior adds to the planet's well-being. I'm going to read this message because I don't think I've actually ever pulled this card. It says, when you remember that nothing can come into your experience without your vibrational invitation of it, and when you remember that the very behavior of others adds to the balance and the well-being of your planet, even if they offer behavior that you do not approve of, and that you do not have to participate in the unwanted behavior, and it will not unless you give your attention to it, you become more willing to allow others to live as they choose. Wow. That's a really profound message and very interesting just for me, like looking at where Capricorn hits in my chart. All right, so the card that came up for everybody, as I was just pre-shuffling before I went to lay out cards, we had a jumper. So that is the Knight of Wands in reverse. So we're looking here at either a need to start transforming something or a need to pull back on transforming something. Okay, we've got the Knight of Cups and the Five of Cups. Wow. All right. So for Capricorns, this is very much about a balance or initiating This is all about your emotions, and looking at, the Knight of Cups is a card of proposals. It's a card of love offerings. And the Five of Cups is very much the opposite, right? A card of loneliness and solitude and even like destitute, desolation. So what it tells me is, like, the other card that has been poking out the whole reading is this, I will honor my highest truth. And so, look, I wasn't planning on pulling one of those cards for the cardinal signs, but that really has become the cardinal signs message for this Taurus full moon. This is very much talking about the balance between how we manifest based off of our expectations. So we either expect something to go in a emotionally satisfying way, or we expect it to go in an unemotionally satisfying way. And often how that manifests is based on other people, like how our contribution to what happens between us and others is based on how other people are acting rather than our own internal sense of our highest truth. Feeling good will bring me far more than whatever I thought I needed. So again, like I said, often we can judge what is happening or what we think is about to happen as more of an indicator than what we desire. So we're not manifesting from our desires, we're manifesting from our fears. So this is very much like with this Knight of Wands, almost as a challenge here. For our Capricorns, this is a message about balancing, moving towards our excitement and moving towards our fears. And we really want to get away from moving towards our fears. And the way that we do that from this card is to understand that other people's behavior and other people's actions towards us don't say anything about how our desires manifest. Let's take a look at the tarot that we've pulled here. We've got the Eight of Pentacles, the Three of Wands, and the Knight of Pentacles. This talks about working towards some sort of stability. It talks about having another go. Maybe you're on a dating app and you really are not happy with how the conversations are going. Doing it again, perfecting something, and some level of like loyalty and stability here. So stability, I believe for our Capricorns, this is really about the process. Where this full moon is in Taurus, so it's about physically manifest things. It's about the earth element. It's about that grounding. And we have here again this Knight of Pentacles, which is about what is being grounded in. And so the message for Capricorn is very much about not letting our feel good feelings and our desires move us towards what it is that we want, rather than judging the world outside and what we believe to be happening, and letting that change our expectations of what it is to come for us. Okay. We've got be confident, and that is obviously one of the things that you're being asked to, honor your highest truth in this situation and be confident that what it is that you desire is being put into your vortex, and you will be able to manifest that. We've got happiness, passion, and purpose. So with the 8 of Pentacles, the 3 of Wands, and the Knight of Pentacles here, this can be talking about how perfecting our way on our spiritual purpose, pursuing our passions and finding purpose in our work or in the process. I say work, but what I really mean here is process. So maybe this, because this isn't about an emotional situation for you, whether it relates to your career, to a relationship, to dating. This is about an emotional challenge for you. And following that passion and working towards what you feel your purpose is going to allow you to spontaneously have those feelings of happiness. And that spontaneity in feeling good is what is going to draw more of the same to you, the law of attraction there. And then we have, I believe I'm worthy of feeling good. So for our Capricorns, this challenge does seem to be around worthiness, which is maybe the challenge here with the initiation. Like, you're sparking off in the wrong direction, right? You're sparking off from your fear, and that fear, what the card is saying is that it stems from a feeling of unworthiness. So let's get a couple of cards here for our Capricorns on how they can go about alleviating that sense of not being worthy. All right, we've got the Seven of Cups. Seven of Cups. We've got the Seven of Cups here. Seven of Cups is a card of confusion. It's a card of illusion. And it's a card of multiple opportunities. And then I have chosen the Poet here. So what I'm getting for our Capricorns is that the challenge here is about embracing poetry, is about being artistic. And this Seven of Cups is, it is sort of a creative card, right? When you think about, the sandcastle in the sky, you're using your imagination to create what it is that you want. And so the challenge here and the way to move more into feeling worthy of your manifestations or your desires is to hone in on that more artistic ability to visualize what it is that you are trying to manifest. I'm going to get another clarifier here, because see if we can get a few more words out about how, like, the worthy feeling. So I think what it's saying is that it's really just about practicing that, because we were talking about process, right? And so it is very much a process of, as you get better with the process of putting your desires into your vortex and having them manifest, you're going to feel more worthy of that, of using the law of attraction to manifest what it is that you want. And I think that's really the message there. Let's see what comes out. We've got death in reverse. So death is the ending of something and the beginning of something else. So this can mean clinging on to something well after it's past its use by date. We've got the Eight of Swords here in reverse. So this is talking about self-imposed anxiety. We've got the Four of Wands here in reverse. So this is a lack of that portal being opened. That is essentially this a card in the challenge position, the Knight of Wands here. So that lack of initiating that portal to move forward. And then we've got the Father of Swords here, which was also in reverse. So yeah, the feelings of unworthiness just literally stem from our past. It's about not healing our past experiences and our past traumas, which is causing us to not feel worthy because we aren't actually certain how to use the law of manifestation and to use our imagination to create the things that we want. So if we go back to this initial card, it says, like, even if people have or offer up behavior that you don't approve of, it's, if you don't participate in that unwanted behavior and you don't give your attention to it, it literally ceases to exist in your reality. So I do see that as being a bit of a challenge, and it's a logical challenge here with the Knight of Swords in reverse for our Capricorns, right? So it's like, I don't want these things to be manifesting, and yet they're manifesting. And so, so then we feel unworthy of the things that we desire. All right, I think I've kind of spoke myself around and around and around that. The last card that we have is Start Somewhere. And so, you know, what I'm getting is like the need to move more into this poetic expression. Like, you need to start practicing the laws of manifestation in order to understand how they work and to get better with them. You don't run a marathon on the first day. So does that mean that you shouldn't feel worthy as a runner? Well, like, honor your highest truth. And that highest truth is about working with this process here and with our emotions. So like with that experience of like wanting to be a runner and never having ran before, or wanting to run a marathon and never having ran before, having the desire to become a runner and yet you've never ran before doesn't mean that you should feel bad about yourself, right? It's about putting the physical steps in place to move towards what it is that you desire and who it is that you want to become, because we're constantly becoming all of the time. All right, Capricorn, thank you so much for being here. Thanks, all signs, for being here. Please check out the all sign reading, which I will be posting probably within the next 12 hours. It is a Taurus full moon, all signs reading, and it just gives a little bit more insight, particularly with regards to what it is that this collective is all about, which is, you know, very much alternative lifestyles, new ways of governing, and forming new societies away from the current structures that we have in place. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon.